making good money, but still wondering where it all goes. Imagine feeling completely confident about your business finances. Jillian at JMV Financial Services provides more than just numbers. She empowers entrepreneurs to simplify their numbers, strengthen cash flow, increase profitability, and create a financial plan that supports the business and the life they've worked so hard to build. No more financial overwhelm, no more second guessing, just clarity, confidence, and a roadmap for lasting success. Ready to take control of your financial future? Scan the QR code and book your strategy call with Jillian today.
You're showing up. You're posting. You're speaking. You're doing everything they told you would grow your business. So why is it not converting? Because visibility is only half the equation. Getting attention is easy. Turning that attention into clients takes strategy. VoiceLab was built to solve that. This is where front-end visibility meets back-end conversion. You learn how to get on stages, create your own platforms, and use podcasts, summits, and workshops to grow your audience and generate real leads. Then you learn what most people never build. A system that captures those leads, follows up, nurtures relationships, and turns interest into revenue. Email and newsletter strategy that actually gets responses. Workflows, not just more noise. Real connection that leads to real business. Inside VoiceLab, you are not guessing. You're learning the how. You're implementing in real time. You're building a business that works even when you are not constantly chasing attention. Because here's the truth. If you don't have visibility, no one knows you exist. If you don't have systems, nothing converts. VoiceLab gives you both, so you can stop performing for attention and start building momentum that pays you back. If you are ready to grow your authority, expand your reach, and finally turn visibility into income, join the VoiceLab. Scan the QR code, join VoiceLab Group on the School platform, and build the business that actually works.
Welcome to a world of unforgettable experiences and immersive marketing. Transform your events into extraordinary moments that captivate your audience. Whether it's corporate gatherings, product launches, or community celebrations, our immersive marketing solutions elevate your events to new heights. Immerse your attendees in a world of audio books and podcasts tailored to your brand. Engage their senses and leave a lasting impression. Explore the power of storytelling with our curated podcast content. From insightful discussions to entertaining narratives, we've got the perfect audio experience for your event. Ready to make your next event unforgettable? Scan the QR code now and book a complimentary immersive marketing call with our experts. Let's create memories together. Elevate your events with immersive marketing. Scan the code and let the magic begin.
Good morning, folks. Hey, it's Happy Tuesday, and I'm traveling. And let's see, my camera's coming on. There we go. Using the laptop today. You think I'd never you have used one previously, but we are live, and that is fantastic. That is number one. We're here for another great podcast. Number two of Plot Twist, a Gathering. And you know what, folks? Every story leaves clues, and the real question is, are you asking the right questions, right? So step into an intermittent, it's this intimate, I was going to say intermittent. I think my life is kind of intermittent right now, but real type of just conversation with a mystery behind the publishing that's uncovered, one insightful question at a time. It's about writing the story behind the story, whether the journey is with publishers, whether it is with about the tools, audio, video production, when you want to get your story out, ways to get your story out. This is just about the journey as an author to the story. So all behind that. And for those of you friends who don't know me, I'm Nicole Borghi. I am a virtual event strategist. What do? It's all about strategizing your events, whether it's a podcast or it's a workshop, a webinar, or you want to move into a summit, even commercials. It's all about getting your face out there and being visible. And especially as an author, you need visibility. You need to tell people about this wonderful story that you've started to share to the world, and you want people to come back to that. And so this is for you. I work with those people that want to utilize this as a marketing machine and a sales engine. It's all about shameless plugging, getting to know you, getting to get out there, and know about your book. So, you know what? Don't just write the book. Share the book, bring it to life. And let that be the plot twist, for you and your book. Part of that is that life journey. You wrote the book. It's time to get out there. It's time to share that. And I've got Lana here today. She's back. She was on the Pain Point podcast, and we had such a insightful conversation. I loved it. Share with people what you do if they didn't get a chance to really go through the plot twist. What do you do as a publisher? Because you are all about bringing the story to life.
Yes, and I boil it all down to one little sentence. I build career authors because when someone wants to be an author, not just one time, one and done, that means a career author mindset, and that's totally different. So I do everything from soup to nuts. Oh my gosh. I can ghostwrite your story completely. I can edit it. I can developmental edit it, which means organize and make sure that it flows correctly. And then I also have a publishing company that will publish it and help you market it. I don't know very many publishing companies that will help you with marketing and public relations. But because I've been in this industry for 30 plus years, I have 50 titles that I've written myself. I've been around a long time, and one of my dreams was that there might be a publisher at some point who would actually help market and promote the book. And so that's what we do. So we handle everything from the beginning to the end. Whatever you need, we can do it.
You need the whole journey, right? It's really about the entire journey for people in the book. That's really the connection I think sometimes that people forget about. I love that, and I say this all the time, and I know we discussed it before, but the reason I started this podcast was I'm such an Agatha Christie nut. It's the visual of the thought, the dramatic episodes, the passion of the people that are sharing their stories. And so many times, when you see that, not only was she a writer, but when it's filmed, like the Poirot series, I'm not sure who the detective is, the director is, but the detective is, I believe it's David Suchet, right? And it's probably PBS produced or something type that type of masterpiece behind it, type of theater. And you're looking at their dramatic interlude of people, the connection and the story, but they always feel share these authors. So it's such a visual. And I believe that in this day and time, with the tech that we have and what we use in video so much, whether it's TikTok or you're getting on the stage on your Instagram or something that we're doing right here, right now, it becomes the life. We are our own producers, our own publishers, our own directors, and to share that and have the conversation of that journey. So people identify with you, they hear your voice, and they understand why you wrote the book. So let's get into some questions here. It's for me, it's the book whisperer question here. It's really every book starts with that little whisper behind the scenes, and it's almost like the angel and the devil, and your monkey mind gets in the middle, and so much is going on at once. And what's the whisper that wouldn't leave you alone? And I know you just even mentioned this earlier about you were trying to find the publisher for your book. Was it just something that was gnawing at you? Was it something that you were just imagining? Or was it just like, hey, it was just so driven?
It was out of the blue because I had no idea about being a writer before that. It wasn't like my life goal from the time I was a child. Absolutely not. I did not like my school writing papers. I hated them. And if somebody had told me when I was in school that I would end up being a best-selling award-winning author with 50 published titles, I would have said, "You are insane. That is never happening to me." But then I had this compulsion or this impulse, I guess you should say. It was an impulse to take a writer's course for writing children's books because I had a lot of kids. At that point, I had three. I went on to have seven. So I was having children and I was playing around with writing because I could do that when the children were playing, when they were sleeping or whatever. I could do that, on the fly at odd times. And so that's how I really got started. But the other side of the coin is I was a voracious reader. From the time I could read, maybe 7 years old, all the way through until I started writing. And I still love to read, but I just am busy. I'm busy with writing now, and I can't read as much. But I listen to audiobooks in the car every single time I get in the car. So I find a way to do it. But that that voracious reading, and Agatha Christie was definitely on my list because mysteries were my thing. And I write mysteries. That's the fiction I write now. I write mysteries. But I never dreamed of being a writer. When I got that first idea, I was already taking the writing course. I never did write children's books. Children's books just got me started. The bug bit me in the children's book world. But I immediately went into mysteries because that's what I loved. And I had an idea and I thought it was a good idea. And so I just kept working it. And I just had a feeling, that this was going to work. And yeah, it took a long time, 14 years. I was writing and submitting to publishers and getting rejected. And so it was an instant success for me. Some people think because of the numbers, I've got some numbers that it must have been, straight uphill, but no, it was not. And I always tell my students now, don't worry if you're struggling. You can learn this. I learned it. It wasn't natural for me. I learned it, but now I know it and I can write. And so can you. So just keep at it.
Yeah, it's that's so funny. Yeah, yeah. So seven kids. That's that's a lot to keep busy. So you're keeping their minds busy too, because you can't just you want them to go into thought somewhere else, maybe, right? So imagination. I bet it did any of your children become publishers or writers or anything like that? Are they old enough to get to that? Are they thinking about it?
Mhm. My children are all adults now. There are a couple that have an aspiration to become a writer. They do not want my instruction or my advice. It's like, okay, mom, I've got it. I've got
Mm.
it. You know, um, I've got an actor in the family who acts and directs on community theater. And then a couple of the children are very skilled in music.
Oh, fantastic.
And so they took their creativity in other directions. Another one of my sons is also an actor. His brother, the director, pulled him in and said, "You should try out for this part." And he did really good at it. And so now he's hooked too. So yeah, very creative family, but nobody has published a book yet besides
Oh.
me. Yeah.
They're like, we're gonna stay away from it and then get you when you're least expecting it.
Yeah.
Right? When it's their thought, their time. I mean, for me, I wasn't even going to write anything until I put this last summit together, because to me it was all about giving the authors a stage. There's so many people out there that have gotten stuck in these anthologies, and anthologies have been around for centuries, right? The Bible itself is an anthology. It's just different stories all just smooshed together, and we lose track of who's who because it's just this big dramatic presence. And Unfortunately, when you look at a book like that and you look at it today, if somebody actually edited it and put it together in a smooth journey, it would be a much better telling story that people could actually read and enjoy. It's a hard read. And that gets me to anthologies themselves. When people put them together, they charge us this enormous, exuberant amount of money, and nobody edits.
Mm.
Nobody puts the story together. You have a group of people that work together, and that whether people are doing an anthology or they're just putting a book together, how much does that come out in conversation, and does that come out in conversation with you? Because I mean, just my personal belief is that's like number one. Can you write? Can you tell a story? And do you have a story that's interesting enough as a reader to keep the readers to listen to this, and maybe actually a lot of people don't talk about this. Maybe that's the thing, is not people aren't reading your book because there's no connection, there's no personality, there's no vibe. It's how people tell the story. So when you're assessing people and you're getting in a conversation with them, how much do you get into, hey, this, if you tell the story this way, or perhaps if you add this into it, or hey, maybe just leave this out because it's just not, nobody really needs that. It's kind of like a person talking about all the science and all the key points. You need a little bit of it to share that your point, but you don't need pages and pages of that, because unless it's another scientist reading it, you lose the audience. What does the assessment look like for you when you're talking to people?
Well, that is a big question. I work for an agency. Uh, I do editing jobs and other jobs for an agency, and they will send me a manuscript for assessment. And that means I read the entire book and I make notes, and then I give a written report to the client, telling them what went wrong, what went right, what I see as the progression of ideas, and am I correct? And make suggestions. This book needs a rewrite. This book needs a deep edit, or maybe this book is great. It just needs light editing, getting it ready for publication. So that assessment goes into all of those different facets of it. And it's so important to get someone, a professional, to look at your work, because you can't see what you can't see. We're so close. I mean, we're this close, right in front of our face with this work, and we can't see the forest for the trees. So we need to get an outside opinion. I value an outside opinion. I actually get at least 10 people to read everything I publish before I put it out there, because I want feedback. There's so much in my mind that doesn't get on the page. and and to me it's in there, but it isn't in there. And only somebody else can say to me, it isn't in there. And I'll go, what? It's not in there? Oh, sure, I put it in there. So, yeah, we need each other. We need each other. And I say it a lot. Writing is a solitary task. It's a solo job, but it is a team sport. We need readers, we need editors, we need so much input when we are working on a project.
Right. Well, it's people look at this and they I got to write a book. I want to be a number one bestseller. It's a great way to brand myself. But if you can't even get on the mic at a networking event and talk for 30 seconds to 2 minutes to people and get your niche out there, get your business out there and say, hey, I'm Nicole Borghi. I do done with you and done for you virtual events, summits, workshops, and podcast. And a lot of times I'll start with that with people that don't know me. If you can't even simplify it down that much, and then get into the fun stuff of really what you do, and have a more a powerful back story kind of to it, just depending on the time, right? If you can't get those words out, if you can't say, hey, my whole thing is about visibility and branding, getting seen, getting heard. If people can't grasp that, they can't grasp it in your book. So you need to start somewhere. And I think that's very much a miss. Being a number one bestseller doesn't mean that you're the number one best read book. Are people going to read it? And are you going to leverage it? That's fantastic if that's your goal. That's fantastic if it helps sell your services. If there's something in the book that sells your services as an entrepreneur. But it's not fantastic if you want people to read it. It's not fantastic if it sits on the shelf. And I think it's very crucial to start talking to that about people is everybody's quoting, oh, we got any, and nobody pays attention anymore. They only have 3 seconds of time. Yes, but that 3 seconds is just to capture the audience so they come back for more and watch a highlight, watch a couple shorts, watch the highlight, watch the full video. Are they interested enough in you? So you're just trying to kind of hook them in and then reel them in and then put them in the bucket and fillet them, right? You want to get them into the book. You want to get them into the story. And that's very crucial in that manner. And that, that I think that comes into the age of AI. If you can't stand out with your voice, if you can't stand out and the words don't jump off the paper, and you use AI through a whole book. I mean, I talked to somebody the other day and they had somebody submit a book to them and it's completely AI. Single sentence lines, just about maybe 5 words. It's double, triple space. It's almost like somebody in high school, like you have to have like 7 pages, right? And it's just ridiculously spaced. It's very boring. It almost might as well start with hope you're doing well, right? That old start to the email that chat just won't do. Now it's got the 3 dots and the hyphen and that whole stuff. It doesn't need all that, but it likes to quote now. Chat GPT likes to add things in air quotes, I think now. But when we start to look at that, the personality's lost, and there again, that comes back to the energy and the vibe of the book for the reader. There's all these books that people are like, yeah, lifelong books, right? If you're listening to Jim Rohn, there's something with Tony Robbins, and then you get back into, Jack Canfield and all these books that, I mean, look at Shakespeare. It's still so fantastic. You can still go back to it and relate the story to today. You can still find that passion, and humans really haven't changed, though we have evolved technically with our technology. We have not evolved. Our humanage is basically the same. There's a lot of things that haven't changed there. And going back to that, it's just such a key thing here. So, for every story, there's really the plot twist of be sharing the journey. Where's that journey? When should people write their book? You have something seeding in your mind and something that you want to share with people because you've discovered this is the time that you're in a place to share it. I mean, I'm at a time in my life where I'm able to share a chapter in the anthology because I've met the people. It's important for me. I'm comfortable sharing the message publicly. But when does that start to evolve for people when they share that in their life? Is there maybe a time that they should wait because it might just get a little bit better, or maybe that's just some editing or a push that someone needs, like a ghostwriter may need to come in to really tell the story, like, hey, we can really um, because it's a lot of times it's hard for people to put in conversation or context to tell the story, but they've got a great story and it needs to have a better life. How does that conversation kind of go with an author when it's time to write the story, but they just can't format it into words?
Yes, I've had so many clients that have come to me with a manuscript. I had a client come with a 235-page single-spaced manuscript, and he was telling the story of how he failed in the fire service and how he got his life back. And he was intending it to be a prescriptive memoir to tell his story of his two big failures in life and how you can come back from failure and have a better life. That was the gist of the entire book. But he had a master's degree and he was writing it like a thesis, and it was rich with information and all of these footnotes. I mean, pages and pages of endnotes and all this stuff, but it was unreadable. It
Yep.
was, nobody could wade through all of that. And so when he felt like he hit a roadblock and he wasn't sure why, because he put so much time and effort into it, way overkill, for what was actually needed for a commercial public to read. It was a perfect time for him to seek help and get a professional to give him an assessment. And that's how I started. I started off with an assessment, and I said to him, your entire book is encapsulated in chapter 7. You have all the points in chapter 7. So let's just take chapter 7 and insert all the other chapters under the headings in chapter 7. You're going to have a great book. And that's exactly what we did. And so I ended up ghostwriting the book using his words, but I had to break it all down, restructure the whole thing, and it came out amazing. Absolutely amazing. He was delighted. So, getting help. And when I say get help, that doesn't mean you just throw it, to somebody like you're pitching a ball and you're going to throw them the manuscript. It's a collaboration. You're working with that person. That person's going to give you feedback. Initially, that was what I did. I gave him that analysis, and then we talked. Always talk. I talked before I analyzed, after I analyzed, and then as I was going through that process of rewriting it, I was talking to him every chapter. We were touching base, comparing notes, what he wanted, what I did, and I was constantly massaging it according to what he needed. And so my sister wrote a book, and I warned her, be careful who you get as an editor because you don't want them butchering your stuff. You don't want them chopping it up and sending you back
Yeah.
pieces. And she didn't listen to me, and she paid a lot of money, several $1,000s to this person. And when she got it back, that person had just taken out the best parts, removed the sections that she wanted to prove a point, and all of this because that person never had a meeting with her. She just took the manuscript and ran with it.
Wow.
And then she got back something she couldn't even use. She couldn't even use it. So when you work with a professional on your manuscript, you should be in touch with them. They should be letting you know. You should have regular meetings to talk about the work and what's being done and do you like it and should I adjust something for you? Because I see myself as a plumber. I say this all the time, but I see myself as a plumber. I'm just a skill set. I've got the
Mhm.
skills to do this, and my job is to make your life better and make your book better. And you're the author. I'm not the author. I'm just a technician. I've got a skill. And so, just like you'd hire somebody to unclog the sink in your kitchen, you're going to get me to help you create the book of your dreams. That's what I'm here for.
What a scary story. I mean, do you look at people's work? I mean, you wouldn't go to a doctor and just go, hey, you got the degree. But I mean, if you're going to have surgery, do you know somebody that's been there? Do they have credible work? Is there some kind of testimony that you can check out that they didn't process online, right? Or heavily edit? It's just amazing to me the fact that people don't do that research and then they're upset. I mean, yeah, of course, you have the right to be upset. You should be upset about it because it didn't go your way. But if nobody's ever meeting with you, you don't see the edit, you don't know their work, you've got to start to question that. And that was important to me when I got to know the publisher and we started to collaborate on some items. It's just like, I get to know their work. I get to know their value. I get to know what they've written, and I've talked to other people that have already worked with them. Are they happy with this? I mean, it's not like they're building a monument to me out of bronze or something, which would be great. But I mean, it's like, gee, do the research. You can write your own book. If somebody's going to do that bad, why are you paying them? And then, you know, you you don't need to badmouth people, but you do need to reach out to other people in the room. And that's with business as well. And I do suggest that if somebody has done something that is not in good practice, just say, hey, you don't have to go out, you don't have to Facebook it, you don't have to do this mean tweet or be a keyboard warrior, but really let someone that you value know that. And I did with people, I looked at work when someone was getting it, friends of mine and even clients of mine, getting into anthologies or publishing a book and saying, hey, have you checked the work? What are they doing to promote you? Where are they promoting you at? Because you're basically paying for a promotional package. They supposedly paid to promote a summit. And years ago, so about 3 to 4 years ago, in that promotion on a summit, you probably would have gotten 900 people to register for a summit and maybe 150 come out through 3 days, 2 to 3 days of time. They would have had some good numbers. They obviously didn't even promote to virtual groups, not even in networking to get clients in. And the person that did the anthology had a great track record for live events. But those promotions didn't cross over. All they had to do was reach out to a few groups. They got no attendance outside. It was horrible. And she had pushed it onto the authors like, hey, you need to self-promote. Yes, you should promote your stuff, but you got to give people the kit to promote it. And you've got to make sure that they have an audience. And if they don't, and you're saying, hey, I'm going to be spending PR, they paid for public relations article to go out. It was probably on page 7 of some unknown website that had nothing to do with the audience that they were looking for. There was a promotion that went out to a private Facebook group. I don't know who's going to see them. So it's really getting to know that. Do some research on it because it's your baby, it's your product. It's you're birthing this. It's your imagination. It's your fantasy to become the writer. It's in you. It's in your blood. The creativity. Just really looking at it from an honest lens, and I see that a lot. And unfortunately, there was several people in that group that I had mentioned this to, and everybody was okay. And then, of course, they were upset. So it's kind of hard to see that in the end. And I wasn't there to say, hey, I told you so. I was there to say, I'll be here when you learn your lesson. I'm one of the few people from one of the two people from the outside that got invited. And I offered to come in. I was not necessarily invited because my friend was so into the book and I invited somebody else. So there was two of us there that weren't authors. So it's crazy to see that. But let's move on. And really, for if if the book were a mystery, what clue would you want readers to notice? So if people are looking at something, and whether we're actually talking mystery writing in the book, which I love, but what clues should you leave in even a nonfiction book? What type of clues should you leave for people? Maybe some takeaways so they understand, just like the gentleman you said that had a lot of research. He had a lot of stuff that was going to be overwhelming to the audience. And he obviously knew his subject, but when you get to the gist of it, isn't there, we don't just want the happy ending. There's something you want people, some nuggets you want them to follow to get to the gist of being inside the story. How does that look?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I just want to add, check LinkedIn profiles and recommendations.
Yeah.
That's where I always go. LinkedIn recommendations are golden. But as far as as leaving these nuggets, part of it is in the organization of the book because your chapters should be like an expanded outline of the topic and it should make sense in the flow of the ideas through it. And even for an anthology, if you have one chapter, then from beginning to end it should tell a story, whatever that may be. So one of the things that really struck me when I started writing, I was writing like in a vacuum. I just was writing at my computer and I didn't really think about the reader too much. I just wanted to tell the story. But when the book came out and the fan mail started coming in, and I had piles of fan mail. I realized that this is a conversation. The book was the beginning of the conversation. The fan mail was the reply. And so we had this two-way thing going on. It changed my life. After that, I always wrote my books with the reader in mind. And so we are leaving these nuggets along the way, and I like to highlight them with pull quotes. A pull quote is where you have a white space and then you have a little saying in the middle of that white space. It's right in the middle of a page. And I just pull out a statement that's in the main body of the text and put it in this little block of white all alone. And as someone's reading the book, they come to this white space and they see this statement. And it's a powerful, meaningful statement. And this is, to me, breadcrumbing, because if the person is a skimmer, and I always think about skimmers because we got a lot of skimmers these days, they will just track. They're not really reading every word. They're just kind of tracking. And they come to this pull quote. And well, they read that. It stands out. And then they're tracking again until they get to the next one. And so if you're strategic in that, you can tell a story through the book, and it's almost like cliff notes for the type of person that wants to just scan and get the nuggets. You're giving them to them right there. I heard somebody say that you should write so that you're putting the cookies on the lowest shelf so everybody can reach them. And those pull quotes are like those cookies on the lower shelf. And
Well,
the beauty of that is you can take those pull quotes and make memes out of them. You do
mm.
a lot with them. There's so much publicity and promotion available from those pull quotes. They do triple, quadruple duty.
I love that. And I would imagine that kind of works like, when you're watching, um, oh my gosh, Murder She Wrote or something, Angela Lansbury, right? So when you're coming back from the commercial, people kind of they revamp a little bit about what happened last time. So you're like, okay, I went to the commercial, I was kind of cooking or doing some stuff around the house or taking some notes. Maybe at the time you were reading and watching TV. I'm one of those. But you've got the noise in the background that it brings you back to that part of it. And I do skim through some stuff because I'm not sure that person's that strong of a writer or what their subject is, but something like that would bring me back into the story and say, okay, now I can read this, right? It's kind of like on an Audible when people leave the PDF and the PDF is kind of a follow along, or it's got some type of graphics in it, some pictures or photos so you can actually stop and see it when you get a chance and you can kind of bookmark that chapter and come back to it. It's really a callback to that moment, that shorts or the highlights of something, which is great because it's a tag, it becomes a tagline and you're seeding people with this. So the more you're seeding it and the more you bring it back to video, audio, and even to workshops, if you have a service that you offer and you've written about that, or maybe that's your backstory to why you're the coach, or maybe that's a backstory to why you're the publisher, that connects people. And like you're saying, it's a conversation. We're building a relationship, we're building a rapport, and we're marketing ourselves at the same time. And as you start to do this, there's a way that lines up. And when you bring it into an event, a summit, or a workshop, maybe even a podcast, there's a relatability and there's a callback to the book at all times for people to keep on with that journey. And you start to say, hey, this is my story. This is why I'm, a crystal Reiki master and I started to heal myself. Here's my journey. I wrote it, I healed myself, and here's why. It makes you more credible, not just the bestseller, but why you became the bestseller because you shared the story. So it's the tie back into that. And that's a very important part in that journey to bring that to life. And it's very cyclical and you keep using that. So you went through all this, you wrote the book, you got a great publisher, maybe you got a ghostwriter, you put it out there and people can read it. Even if it's a short book, you want to kind of skim through it and then go back to the story. because then it's like, okay, this is a good person. This is something I want to read. I read a lot of nonfiction. Um, and I love to watch more fantasy. So I definitely, on many things, especially larger books, I'm a skimmer looking for specific information. So it can get heavy that way. But you want to be able to have that. I mean, you look at something like a Dan Brown book, and then finally, years and years, how many years later, was it made into a series of films? And to call back from that book, and it's just a short, great read that you can get to, and then it's life everlasting. So with books, I really think that the readers can totally discover themselves as well as the authors going through the story, going through the book. So if it's a story about somebody's journey or their life or something that they've overcome, they had some fails in life and now they want to change that and want to leave some sense of transformation. And if you leave some takeaways or some nuggets or tips in there that make sense, then people can kind of follow you and say, hey, I took these 2 steps and this is what I do every day. Give it a try. And then there's the real magical transformation. It's not just reading about somebody. Let's really talk about the details of how that happened. And then you can go, yes, I can connect more to this. When authors are writing their book, do you feel there's a lot of self-discovery when they put that out there into the world?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because we have to dig deep to bring the words out. And I think a lot of times when someone is not in tune with themselves, or maybe there's an issue that they really don't want to deal with or think about, they will get stuck because transparency is really pivotal. I know there are people out there who write books that are just BS. I know that. They're just trying to make a buck, with this book. But if you're trying to do something that has really got impact and connects you to people, you got to go places. That I definitely have cried over my keyboard many times because you just have to go places that other people may not want to do. Someone said it's easy to be a writer. You just cut your wrists and bleed all over the paper because you just got to dig deep. And there's another facet to it either, which is energy. And I don't talk a whole lot about energy, but this one thing I really stand behind, and that is the energy that you bring into the manuscript when you're typing it. You have feelings, you
Mm,
have a perspective, you have your essence of yourself, and you're typing these words into this manuscript, and that essence of you is going into the manuscript, which means that people who resonate with you will see it and go, oh, that sounds like something I want to participate in. I want to read that because you've got this connection with the reader. If you're trying to stay distant and clinical and academic, you're not going to get that. But if you go close and start to deliver your heart and your soul and your experience into the work, people will resonate with that because
yeah.
you're in there, you're in the work. And then you have to be willing to be in conversations like we're having today and also bring yourself to the table so that people who resonate with you in this, like this podcast, will also say, oh, I resonated with her. I think I might like to read the book too. And then you've
Absolutely.
got that connection. Yeah.
I love that. And I just want to say there's a few people on here. I'm just looking at LinkedIn right now. Michael Tanner says good morning, and Karen Awesome Thomas says good morning as well. So hello, glad to hear from you guys. If you have questions, pop it in the chat. We've got about another 10 minutes that we're going on. I love this conversation. I love getting deeper into this conversation. When people are looking at, and I know there's what Napoleon Hill and all these other people, that a lot of coaches, there's a lot in our networking in the space, part of some of the spaces that we share and cross over. And of course, in my business, there's a lot of speakers and coaches that are kind of overnight and they want everybody to feel good. And We want that. It can be toxic positivity. I think that it gets too much. What's the reality of this? And are you really having a good time? Are you smiling all the time? Or maybe you're just content. But we're passionate beings, so we have to be happy and sad and angry and mad, and we need to feel life. And I think that's part of it. We're not feeling life, that our books aren't feeling any life. And that's that energy perspective. What are you bringing to the table? Which gets me to a lot of people, and I see a lot of speakers do this, and I'm just going to say flat out, it's a mistake. When you tell someone else's story, maybe it's your grandmother's. If it's your grandmother's story, there's this great video channel on YouTube. I think it's Appalachian Stories or Appalachian Storyteller. And this guy tells stories that his grandmother shared with him. And he's a fantastic orator, and it's just so very well done what he does. But he's sharing somebody else's story in the myth, in the journey, maybe in a fable type way, right? But when other people are telling maybe a Tony Robbins story that they heard, or they're talking about a product, and they're talking all about the product and the person that developed the product and all of the testimonies from the company because they're an MLM, it's just like, come on. You might as well throw some overloaded data in there that nobody's going to read. What is that pivot? How do we get people to pivot to tell their story, why they became the healer, why they became a coach? What's that transformation? I think people are more apt to want to transform with you if you really tell a little bit of the nitty gritty. Not everything. It's not Facebook. Don't share everything. We don't want to see it. We don't know what your neighbor's doing. Don't spill the tea over there. Share it in a story. Share it in a way that people can really, it kind of jumps out on the pages. But don't tell someone else's story. Don't talk so much about the product. Talk about the what it took you to invent it, what it took you to get the fundraising for it, what it took you to get the people to sponsor, what it took you to build that, what that more of that maybe that journey and that discovery was, and then people are going to go buy your product or service. How does that look? And I know it ties into some of what we were talking about before, but how do we keep people away? It's my mission in life. I'll say it here and now, full disclosure, for people to tell their own stories and start to, in a way, mind your own business. Because not everybody wants that story to be told, but also tell it in a way, your story in a way that will totally get people to transform. I think that's the way to truly get that positive transformation and change your community. And as somebody that is a chairwoman in a nonprofit for confronting domestic violence, you know, I want to see change. I want to see transformation. I want people to feel better and do better and be passionate, but they'll do it, I think, if it's more relatable, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. And that's one of the main reasons why we coach our authors about doing presentations and how to find the topic of their presentation. And just as an example, we have a PhD college professor who's writing middle grade fantasy books. He's writing middle grade fantasy books of talking bears and pixies. It's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. So what is he going to do when he gets to his presentation? Well, he's going to talk about his experience, his life experience, what brought him to want to write middle grade books, and the heart behind it.
Mm,
His attachment to books, fantasy books, when he was in the fourth grade, is something that informed him when he got older and retired. He said, I wanted to go back to the magic. I
mm,
wanted to experience that magic. And so telling his story when he does a presentation is going to open the hearts of the people in the room because he went into academia. He's a PhD, big, one of those guys with a big head. Um, and it's wonderful to hear that he is going back to what made him feel alive before all of this other stuff happened. The story behind the book is so powerful because so many people say I should write a book. I hear that it's almost like a cliche that people say, "Oh, I went through this and that. I should write a book." Well, why don't you? Some people write the book, and the people who do have massive motivation. It's a long job. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 10 years, depending on who you are and what the story is. But something keeps you going, something keeps you working on it. So that story of why you wrote the book, what brought you to this particular book? Why did you start at this place and end at that place? What was the main message that kept you pumped up to keep going with it? And people want to hear that. So when you tell the story behind the book, and that's what we say, we encourage our authors, don't get up and read the book. Tell the story behind the book. Let them get to know you. Open your heart and be vulnerable. And no, you don't have to tell the nitty gritty details that are going to have everybody, running for cover. You don't want that. But they still do need to know who you are and what your purpose is and your heart for going to all this trouble and expense to put out this book.
Well, well said, 100%. It's really, you want people to get into that, right? Be part of the journey with you, feel that presence of what you felt, and getting back into the book to say, hey, yes, there's that relatability, there's that change. Let them pick up the phone and call you, or go to your website and reach out to you to search more about you, because I always want to know about that author. I want to know what they did. I want to know more about what they're doing now. And it's just, I see it on the stage with speakers. They're just lost in the sauce. There's no new uniqueness anymore. There's no creativity when you're telling someone else's story, because you didn't feel it. You didn't have passion. um if you're a great actor or actress and you can bring it on the stage and tell someone else's story like you're telling a Shakespearean story, that's fantastic. That's a very limited group of people that can reiterate it, a myth, a mythology, or a fable, and bring that back to stage, and make it. It takes writers, it takes actors and directors. There's a whole scene that needs to be set. We can do this now with a partial of the video and telling that backstory of why you wrote it, why it's so important to you. And there's a connection. And this is what you could do with audio. I bring that. I love to do that with people, is having people record their book. Maybe it's just a chapter. Maybe it's the entire book, and they can share that with members in their group. They can share it as a gift, one chapter that they read. Somebody can download on an audio. Or they can read out the whole book on video. And what's great is they can add a little bit of subtext and content and have conversation, from the stage, talking to people. Hey, when I had this journey, I couldn't add it to the book. It took away from the story because we only have a limited space, but let me add that. I just was listening to Dave Portnoy's book, and he's so funny because he's such a character, and he added a few things. He's like, hey, I had to take it out of my book because of space, but let me add a few extra details to share the story. So we went deeper into the story. And because he's such a character, it was so fun to get on that journey with him. Or, hey, he reflects back to, oh my gosh, if I did this today, I wouldn't have made it. Put all the newspaper stands up for his newspaper or whatever he was handing out. And it's listening to that. People have that character, and they're not, Bueller, very boring, very bland. If This is why people aren't connecting with you at a summit or a workshop. You've got to stop, add a little bit of extra context, share with them. When you intro, you have the tagline, just like you were saying. There's that white heading that people come to, and they're like, okay, I can look back. Now I want to read this. Right? Because your audience is kind of skimming. They're doing other things. Things are happening. Maybe they're in their mind and imagining what you're talking about. Maybe there's a system, a structure, and they're like, hey, I tried this before. It didn't work for me. And why are you better? So now you're adding some context to it. Here's the chance for you to add some more and really bring that value to the person, or actually do exercise with them. actually share that moment with them. And this gives the chance for the person you're connecting to now connect to you through audio, through video, and through other things. And this is just, there's just so many ways that you can bring the book to life, that you can share this. So we have such a great conversation. Let me get down to this. What for you, what is just that? Was there maybe a strange magic that kind of grew with you throughout your life to change? Is there any takeaways that you want to share with people about your journey through publishing and writing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it developed over many years. I've been writing for a long time, 50 books. I mean, they didn't happen in a day. But my main message to people is if you have this impulse, if you have this feeling in your heart that won't let you quit, you write and then you get tired and you say, I'm going to put it away. And the next thing you know, you're doing it again. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, which is where I was those 14 years working on my first book. If you have that going on, you're not making it up. You're not living in a fantasy world. You're not telling yourself stories. You're not imagining things or being irresponsible. You have a calling. That impulse that keeps coming back and coming back and coming back, that is something I call a calling. Something is calling you to this. So take a little different perspective on it and honor it. Honor it and value it. Be grateful for it. Follow it. When you have an impulse to write, write without apology. It's part of who you are. Go ahead and do it. I mean, you can write in many different ways. Some people write blog posts. Some people are on Substack. Some people have articles going in the newspaper. Other people write books. Some people contribute to anthologies. Some people write screenplays. There's so many ways you can write, but just do the thing that's in your heart because it's there for a reason. And when you follow it, and I can speak this from my heart with experience, when you follow it, magic happens. Worlds open up. You might struggle for a while, but you will eventually get there. The only thing that can make you fail is if you quit.
Yeah, and you've already quit if you never got to it, right? It's only in your head. It's not magically going to appear. I did share all your links where people can connect with you, and of course your publishing company, and also the giveaway, the novel notebook. So people, I put that link in there. Do you want to share with people a little bit of what that's about, and then we're going to head out?
Okay. Well, just real quick, the novel notebook is on my website, lanamacara.com. And what that is an organizing tool to help you keep everything straight. What color is this character's eyes? Are they taller or shorter than the other person? All these different things. There's so many details, thousands of details in every novel. And this novel notebook will help you get it all organized, keep it all straight. And I encourage people to print the stuff out and put it in this 3-ring binder. You have it online, sure, but put it in a 3-ring binder so you have it. You cannot delete a 3-ring binder if you spill coffee on it. It's going to stay, it's going to be there. You got it.
That's so true. And you're spelling out, you're putting the energy in there when you're writing it out and you're making it happen. You're connecting. There's the energy. So all that is there. Thank you for another great conversation. So glad to have you on this podcast. And folks, reach out to me. If you're on LinkedIn, go ahead and DM me. If you're looking to be a guest on the show, I want to hear and add speakers. So there are going to be times when we have one speaker or several, and there will be a panel talking about their book as well. So a little bit different, and sharing that journey with people. So definitely reach out to Lana and get that notebook, put that out there and just let it come to life. Release the beast and let it go. You feel so much better letting this out. All right, guys, another great conversation.